In every kind of technology that we've examined, we see that new technologies come in, they begin to get better in performance on some axes, and then they begin to level off, and we see a dominant design. And so we saw that with smartphones. You know, we had things that were more like Blackberries or Palm Trios, and then eventually the iPhone came out, this big piece of glass. And originally people said, you know, I can't type on glass. Of course, that's all we do now. It just became the dominant design. And so all the phones look about the same and are incrementally improving now. So the question, I guess, is what's coming next? And will we still have a phone in our pocket in 10 years? Well, we've been wearing watches for a long time, and now we're wearing things like Apple Watches. We've had phones actually for a very long time, both at home, and we'd have phones that we could bring a long cord to wherever we were in our homes. And then we're able to now get a phone that we could bring with us in our pocket since the 90s. So it's been going on for a long time. I don't think the phone's going to go away. It's a really nice form factor for a lot of things. The question is, what else is going to come? I think you're going to start seeing more wearables in a different form factor. Things that you can wear on your face, things you can see. I mean, we're seeing a lot of work done by companies, large companies in the space, with VR. The VR stuff is getting very sophisticated. And if you can imagine VR done really well, without having to have a big object on your face, a big screen in your face, you can imagine a future where maybe we're able to see things and not have to look down at our phones, and not have to cross the street, you know, without looking left and right in the future. A lot of design consultancies talk about the intersection of business and technology, let me say people. And they often think about what people want and what a business can do and what technologies they can develop or are available. And I think this model's right. But I like to think about it just slightly differently by adding in another dimension of culture. So not just people, but what's happening in culture. So an individual person we can look at, I can design something for a certain user group. I can say, I'm designing this for millennials who live in major cities, or I can design it for an older population living in smaller cities. But culture shifts. And it used to shift very slowly, but now it's shifting very, very fast. And we can see that because we can understand how things, whether speech patterns are changing more quickly, styles, political causes, a whole bunch of things are changing very quickly. And if we start to factor that in, we can start taking a look at how we might consider different ways to understand how artificial intelligence can impact us. People are concerned about facial recognition, for example, when they're walking down the street. But we know there's huge upsides if we can catch a bad person by seeing where they are. And there are huge downsides if your personal information is put at risk. So it comes down to, I think we're going to see a big fracture between people that have very strong privacy concerns, and they're justifiable, and people who don't care as much about privacy because they never believed they had it. And they're going to see their face and other things like that as part of an extension of their brand, of an external brand of theirs. I think you're going to have two very strong factions of these things. It's going to lead to a lot of very interesting new both technologies to develop around privacy and security for sure, but also in terms of how we design things so they work for people in a way that feels comfortable for different populations. And then a whole set of laws that will have to evolve around this. So I think a lot of First Amendment issues are going to become super important. And I think that we don't, as good designers, it's important to recognize where we are now and where society is moving to, and design for that space as well. Not just in terms of what people want to be able to do with their devices, but even how the law is going to start changing and shifting.